All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Robert Crais, or Crais, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Robert Crais' new book, The Big Empty, just came out about a week ago. I got it. I read it. He's one of my favorite authors. In fact, I've got all of his books. We'll pan through my library here. I've got all of his books right there on that bookshelf right there. Anyway, I'm following his Elvis Cole and Joe Pike mystery series set out of Los Angeles. And this is part of that. This is book number 20 or 21 in that series, I think. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. This has got a decent cover. I like the slantedness of it. You know, they're kind of catching us off guard by making the book square, but then then everything else is slanted. You know, that's pretty cool. I like the font they use, as big, bold colors. And then we've got this picture of a Los Angeles freeway winding through the mountains down into Pacific Palisades or whatever. I know this video, I'm reviewing it right during the California wildfires that took out Pacific Palisades, and most of Los Angeles, I think, is burnt up now. So it doesn't look like this anymore. In fact, he mentions in this book the Palisades quite a bit. I don't know if he's talking about the Pacific Palisades, or if Los Angeles people just call it the Palisades, or if there's an actual other place in Los Angeles called the Palisades as opposed to the Pacific Palisades. I didn't know. Usually I Google that stuff, but I didn't give up this time. Usually if there's something mentioned in a book that I've never heard of before or been to before, I'll Google it. And I didn't Google anything in this book. I do it with a lot of the thrillers I read, because it talks about stuff overseas, parts of the world that I've never been to. So I'll Google Anyway, we'll get enough with that bullshit. Let's talk about the book. Elvis Cole is a normal investigator, the type of guy that sits in his office and, Raymond Chandler-esque, sitting in his office, just waiting, Philip Marlowe, just waiting for someone to come in and walk in, some beautiful woman to come in and walk in and give him a murder case to solve or a missing person case to solve. That's what Elvis Cole does. In the first book of the series, he's got a lot of Disney memorabilia in his office. But by the way, in mentioning the first book, I have read and reviewed maybe 10 of these books so far. Like the first 6 or so, and then a couple that have just come out. And if you want to watch those reviews before you watch this one, just type in my last name, Durfee, into your YouTube search bar, and then Robert Crais' name into your YouTube search bar. Through some sort of pagan sorcery, those video reviews that I've already done will somehow magically appear upon your television screen. You know how it's done. Anyway, so that's Elvis Cole. Now, Joe Pike is Elvis Cole's friend, who's kind of like the Jack Reacher character in the story. Like, Elvis Cole's just a normal guy like me, but the Jack Reacher character, who's the heavy guy, is played by Elvis Cole, and he's kind of like the tough guy. He's the go get shit done guy in the series. And so these two characters have worked off of each other in the span of like 20 or 21 books, and it's just one of my favorite mystery series. That's why I collect them, obviously. This book begins with Tracy Beller. She was 13 years old when her father vanished. Now she's an adult. Now she's an influencer, a TikToker, a YouTuber like me. Probably not as famous as me, because this is the #1 television show in the history of the universe. But Tracy's show was pretty big in its own right. And she had millions and millions of followers, unlike the trillions that I have. And she's got a lot of influence. She hires Elvis Cole to solve this cold case of her missing father, because she was 13 when the guy left. She still thinks he's alive. Most people are like, that dude gone. He's dead. He's gone, baby, gone. But she's like, no, I think he's still around. Will you, it's years and years later. It's a cold case. And she's like, will you help this guy. I mean, and she's an influencer. What is she an influencer? Well, she bakes cookies in her house, or makes lasagna. I don't know, vegetable lasagna or something. She's an influencer who has a cooking show of some sort. Now, Elvis takes the case. He's like, sure, why not? I'll look into this. You're going to pay me that much money? Yeah, I'll do it. Now, Tracy Beller, this influencer, is a little bit of a, how would we say, narcissistic, selfish brat in most interaction with people. She's usually pretty respectful around Elvis, though, but Elvis watches her and sees that she treats everybody else kind of crappy. Now, during the course of this investigation, of course, Elvis runs into these characters named Sadie Givens and her daughter Anya. And these two characters, Sadie and Anya, were in the prologue, a brief prologue of just a couple pages, where they're living in a trailer park and something weird happens, and that's kind of part of the mystery. But then they come back into the story as some people that may or may not have information on this missing man. And that's pretty much what happens through I mean, Elvis Cole, the tough guy, gets involved in the case down the road. Usually he gets involved when Joe Pike, what's what I'm talking about. Joe Pike gets involved in the case later on in the book. And Joe Pike usually shows up in every one of these books when Elvis has sort of got himself into a corner. Anyway, so I was going to read the last paragraph of the description because I think it does a pretty good job of summation of what's happening. So Elvis finds himself shadowed by a gang of vicious criminals. This missing person's cold case becomes far more sinister than it was. Yeah. So that's part of the thing, is the vicious criminals are following him around. The day Elvis calls on his friend Joe Pike for help happens in every book. But it's great. We expect it. Elvis goes on an adventure to solve a problem. He gets himself embroiled with some bad people that he can't work his way out of it, and in comes the cavalry. In comes the Jack Reacher character, the Joe Pike character, to save the day. So Elvis calls on his friend Joe Pike for help, and they follow the missing man's trail into the depths of a monstrous hidden evil. The case flips on its head. Victims become predators. Predators become prey. And the question becomes, can Elvis save them all from this nightmare? This is a good book. This is a really good book. All of the Elvis Cole, Joe Pike books are excellent. I'm giving this one, his newest, that just came out, The Big Empty. Which, by the way, I think this title has been used somewhere else. It just seems familiar. The Big Empty, 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10 for this book.